I want to tell you a story about trust, deception, and discovery. It begins in a small town where Summer and I lived a life most people envied. We had been married for 10 years. We built a cozy home on a quiet street, planting a garden each spring and filling our weekend mornings with brewed coffee and laughter. Our days drifted by in a comfortable rhythm: summer barbecues, Sunday drives, holiday dinners with both families. We had 2 kids, 8-year-old Lily and 5-year-old Max. Our marriage had its share of bumps, sure, but like most relationships, we wore our years together like a favorite sweater: soft, familiar, and safe. Then, one evening, everything unraveled. It was a typical Thursday. I came home late from work, exhausted but content. Summer greeted me at the door with a tight hug, her cheeks flushed from the oven's heat. The kids were lucky enough to get pizza that night. Lily raced to show me her school artwork, proudly displaying a crayon-bright unicorn. Max, covered in sauce, reached up for a hug. The smell of baked chicken and garlic mashed potatoes hung in the air. It was perfect domesticity. And yet, there was an undercurrent to Summer's behavior, subtle, almost imperceptible. She smiled and joked, but sometimes her eyes flickered with something else: unease, guilt, or perhaps just exhaustion. I didn't think anything could shake our routine. But that night, lying in bed, I felt a cold knot forming in my chest, an anxious whisper I couldn't silence. It started with little things: slight changes in her schedule, a late-night phone call I couldn't answer, a vague excuse about picking up extra hours for freelance work. Her cell phone, which we once shared passwords on, was now off limits, always face down and locked. When I asked her about it, she said she needed some space. After 10 years, who doesn't? But something inside me wasn't convinced. I began to read between the lines of her excuses. Her extra hours were always at a coffee shop. Her friends, once a tight group, felt distant as she canceled coffee dates with them. She called work stress unbearable, deadlines piling up, but I couldn't shake the feeling there was more beneath the surface. Summer is beautiful, poised, with a magnetic warmth that made people gravitate toward her. She was often the center of attention, charismatic, funny, empathetic. She volunteered for every school play, every PTA fundraiser. And while I've always admired her energy, a new question arose: was she giving that energy to someone else? Late one night, I stayed up researching local bars and restaurants she said held her office meetings. I tracked Yelp reviews, cross-checked reviews she posted on her phone when she forgot to log out, all for the slightest detail. One bar I found showed a dimly lit table in the corner. She claimed to have met a client there. But why did she look nervous, texting someone constantly, afraid I might walk in? So I started my own surveillance, fleeting glimpses, unnoticed followings while she took her morning run. I told myself it was normal curiosity, but as I trailed her, I realized I felt lost in distrust I didn't recognize in myself. Watching her from afar, I felt empty. And what I saw made my heart freeze. She wasn't meeting clients at that cafe. Instead, she sat at a booth near the back with a man I'd never met. They talked quietly. She touched his arm. She buried her face in her hands. The next day she came home excited, her blouse with a faint perfume I didn't recognize. The kids didn't mention any new friend. She said it was work stress wearing down. But I knew. That meeting, in the coffee shop, whatever it was real. And it was for someone else. It was months before I confronted her. I remember the night. Lily had a soccer game, and Summer drove us all there. That evening, I felt the full weight of what I had become. The man who follows his wife around, who checks phones, who sits mute while suspicion gnaws at him. In the car on the way home, I had her cornered. My voice was low, cracked. "Where did you go last night after dinner?" I said. "That text you sent me, what did it mean?" She stopped at a red light. Her eyes went wide, deflated, then she sighed, bracing herself. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. I felt something cave in my chest. She told me his name was Alex, a coworker she'd connected with on a project. At first, it was professional, sharing documents, analysis, brainstorming. But somewhere along the way, she said, they found solace in each other. She was lonely. I'd been working late, the kids had demands. He listened. On a late-night exchange, text and phone calls, they found each other. She described it like falling asleep in a dream she couldn't wake from. I saw the tears spill down her cheeks. But I also saw the shame, the heartbreak, the regret. She said she loved me. She said she loved him. Her voice broke as she apologized again and again. I could barely breathe. Everything I felt in that moment, pain, betrayal, anger, helplessness, I felt it in waves. And yet, hearing her admit it, her pain, it wrecked me. We spent days tearing the house open, unpacking the details of her relationship with Alex. He lived a few blocks away, and when I went to see him, he didn't deny it. He said he fell for her. Besides being her boss, he saw the stress she carried, wanted to help her. But he also knew it was wrong. When confronted, he expressed remorse, respect, and fear of destroying families. I found emails, late-night messages filled with longing, questions about our marriage. She confessed she was stifled, craving someone to share joy with. He wrote poems praising her strength. Reading them broke me in ways I can't fully describe. Our children became casualties in a war they didn't know was happening. We stayed together through the coaching, volunteering, family dinners. But between us, a wall grew. Summer insisted we try to repair things. Counseling, date nights, open talks. It began to chip away at our broken trust. But trust is like glass. Once shattered, you can glue it, but scratches and fractures remain forever visible. Months turned into a year. We made progress. Small, hesitant steps of reconciliation. The late-night calls stopped. The locked phones came down. A restored password shared between us on an old habit. Summer stopped seeing Alex. He moved away, asking for space so we could heal. For months, I felt the ache of that other presence. Even though he was gone from her life, his shadow lingered in mine. It was hard to claim love again in the ordinary. Cooking dinner felt heavy. Sleepovers and family vacations felt guarded. There were nights I'd lie awake, listening for phantom voicemails or the click of late-night texts. There were mornings I woke without her at my side. But gradually, cracks began to fill. We found solace in therapy. We talked about why she fell, why I missed it. She shared secrets. All those moments I should have noticed her distance. I apologized for being emotionally absent, always at work, fast asleep by the time the dishes were done. I acknowledged the pressure she felt. With each apology, each explanation, we began to untangle the strands of our brokenness. Then came the day we surprised the kids with a trip to the beach. Lily's laughter flooded the salty air. Max sank his toes in the wet sand. Summer held my hand as the sun dipped behind the waves. And in that moment, I realized we hadn't fully recovered, but we were healing. That healing felt fragile, but precious, like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon. Today, I live with both gratitude and sorrow. I'm grateful because beneath the pain, we found honesty. We discovered what we needed before we truly lost it. I'm sorrowful because something was lost. The innocence of our years, the naive confidence that nothing could shake us, that's gone. Now, our love glows in a different light, tempered by vulnerability, rebuilt brick by brick through raw truth. If you asked me, was she the other woman? I'd say no. She was the betrayed, the guilty, the broken, and the one who wandered. She wasn't playing a villain. She was lost, and in losing herself, she hurt us both. Her secret didn't define her as the other woman. Her choices did, yet her humanity remains. And maybe that is the greatest question. In love, who is the villain? The one who betrays, or the one who abandons the heart she once promised to protect? So if you're listening, perhaps you've been Alex, or Summer, or even me. Perhaps you're piecing yourselves back together. Maybe you're still broken. I hope this story helps you know. Betrayal doesn't only live in the act, it lives in the aftermath. And after is where the real work begins. The truth we discovered is this. Love built on honesty may be imperfect, but it can be resilient. An affair doesn't end a narrative, it rewrites it. You can choose to let it define you, or choose to define what comes next. The moment you let the past shape a better future is when healing moves from a dream to a reality. Today, when Summer smiles at me across the kitchen counter, while Max and Lily spill cereal on the floor, that smile feels harder won. It holds a deeper meaning. It's not a sign of perfection. It's a sign of work, of confession, accountability, and brave forgiveness. It's fragile, it's precious, and it's ours, reborn. Our story didn't end with the other woman. It didn't end with the affair. It's an ongoing chapter, messy, real, and courageous. We are writing it together, imperfectly, one day at a time. Thank you for listening to this story. If you've experienced something similar, or have thoughts on forgiveness, healing, and trust, I'd love to hear your reflections. Please comment, and remember, real life rarely fits in tidy package, but the mess holds meaning too.